An undocumented immigrant moves into a sketchy boarding house where she must battle the traumas from her past, as well as the mysterious entity in the house that is leading to the death of all the women staying there. Welcome back to Recap Spot. Today we're recapping a 2021 horror film called No One Gets Out Alive. The film opens with old grainy footage of an archaeological expedition in Mexico led by Professor Arthur Wells. The expedition finds an ancient stone box, and as it's lifted out of the ground, it's surrounded by moths. The film then cuts to the modern day, and we see a young woman talking on the phone in Portuguese, saying that she wants to come home, as she watches a news report on illegal immigration. She then notices a pair of footprints by the curtain as the lights in the house go out and she loses signal. The mysterious stone box from the old footage then appears in the hallway and begins to move. A shadowy figure appears behind her, and the woman is killed off screen, unfortunately becoming one of the many women killed for the box. A moth then flies away, and we see the lights in the house flicker. The movie then cuts to our main character, Ambar, as she's being illegally smuggled into Cleveland, Ohio from Mexico. Ambar pays for a motel room as the manager says she's going to need to show him her ID to keep staying there.
I need your ID.
She promises she'll get it to him soon, even though she can't get an ID since she's illegal. We see Ambar at her job at a sewing factory where she sees an ad for a woman-only boarding house. She moves into the house and meets Red, the owner, and the son of Professor Arthur Wells.
How many others live here?
He tells Ambar that the only other woman in the house right now is Freya, who doesn't speak much English, and shows her to her room. Red then informs Ambar about the rules, promises that there will only be other women in the house, and then says that Ambar must pay a deposit of 1 month's rent up front. Ambar is reluctant but has no other choice and pays the deposit. We then see Ambar in her room listening to an old voicemail from her mother who recently passed away. She hears some distant crying coming from the vent, but doesn't investigate, instead looking through some old photos of her and her mom and reminiscing on when she was visiting her mom in the hospital. On her way out, Ambar runs into Freya, who seems very nervous and speaks a lot more English than Red said.
I'm Ambar.
Ambar tells her that Red said they were the only woman in the house, and Freya says that Red is full of it, hinting towards Red's malicious intentions. The camera pans up and we see two ghostly women staring down at Freya and Ambar. At work, Ambar gets chewed out by her boss for the quality of her work, before talking with her coworker Kinsey, who can get her a fake ID for $3,000. But Ambar is upset because she doesn't have that kind of money.
Don't worry about seats, we'll think of something.
Ambar heads to her Uncle Beto's house after work and eats dinner with him and his family. Beto tells Ambar that he set her up for an interview at a nice job, but that it's very important she brings her ID. On her way out, Ambar is given a nice winter coat from her aunt, and she returns to the boarding house to hear a strange rumbling sound coming from the locked basement door. She investigates and finds scratch marks at the bottom of the door, foreshadowing Ambar's unfortunate fate. Red finds her looking at the door and tells her that the basement is off limits. Ambar asks Red if she can get her deposit back, since she needs the money for her ID, but Red tells her he spent the money already.
Sorry.
That night, Ambar hears Freya crying and goes to check on her, but she finds that Freya's room is empty. She notices a weird chalky handprint on the door to Freya's room, and as Ambar leaves, we see a ghostly woman standing in the room. That night, Ambar dreams about being with her mom in the hospital, when her mom suddenly asks about something in the corner of the room, and Ambar turns around to see the stone box. The box jerks open and Ambar bolts away. Ambar asks her boss at work if she can get an advance on her paycheck, and he tells her that she needs to work harder. Ambar goes out with Kinsey after work and tells her that she lied to her uncle about getting citizenship, and that her mom was always getting sick, which made Ambar feel like she had to put her life on hold. Kinsey then offers to give Ambar the rest of the money she needs for her ID, if Ambar can give her the money she has right now.
Kinsey, are you serious?
And in exchange, Ambar promises that once she gets her new job, she'll lend Kinsey some money to chase her dreams. Ambar feels a presence on her walk home, and we see that she's being followed by the ghost of her mother. When Ambar gets home, she finds Becker, Red's brother, banging his head on the basement door and mumbling to himself. Ambar goes up to her room and hears someone walk outside her door, and it turns out Becker walked to her door and marked her door with a chalk handprint, sealing Ambar's doom. Ambar goes down to the kitchen and meets some new women named Petra and Maria,
I'm Ambar,
who chat with Ambar for a bit before going to Red's room to presumably sleep with him. While Red, Maria, and Petra have fun, Ambar sneaks into Red's private study. She finds a tape playing which talks about ritual sacrifice in exchange for blessings. Amber then finds a photo of Professor Wells and his wife Mary with the stone box she saw in her dream. The next day at work, Amber can't get in contact with Kinsey and finds out that she quit that morning. Amber asks her boss for Kinsey's address and ends up yelling at him, which gets Amber fired. Realizing that she's been scammed out of all of her money and lost her only other source of income, Amber cries and heads back to the boarding house, where only more troubles await her. As she showers that night, Amber hears the screams of a woman crying for help, faintly coming from the drain. She then thinks she sees Freya standing outside the shower, but she disappears when Amber pulls back the curtain. Amber asks Red if he's seen Freya, but he says that she moved out a few days ago.
When?
He then tells her that he's willing to give Amber her deposit back, but she has to wait until tomorrow. Amber listens to her mom's voicemail again that night when she's interrupted by the crying of a ghost who's begging another ghost named Mary to spare her. Mary says that the girl must be prepared, or else Arthur will hurt them both. Amber follows the sound of the crying until she finds the young girl's ghost and watches her get dragged into the basement by a large hand. Freaked out, Amber calls Beto to confess about her citizenship and beg him to come pick her up. However, her uncle is out of town. We see a montage of Amber trying to find another place to stay, but she keeps getting rejected. Amber has a dream about riding a train where she sees her mother staring at her. Amber then notices the stone boxes there, with two large hands coming out of it, before a shriek is heard and Amber jerks awake. She's sitting in a diner where she eventually meets up with Red. He tells her that he has her deposit, but it's back at the house.
I can't go back to the house.
Red tells her about how his brother Becker used to take care of him, but now Becker is sick, and Red feels like he needs to repay his brother and take care of him. Amber eventually concedes, and lets Red drive her back to the house to get her deposit. Red brings Amber up to her room, where he reveals that it was all a trap, and while he did want to help her and let her leave, he can't, because Becker needs her. Becker then comes in and chants in another language, before pouring a liquid into Amber's mouth.
Please don't try to leave.
Amber is left in her room for a while before Petra and Maria come in terrified and reveal that Becker also went after them. The women all plan to make their escape when Becker and Red go to sleep, but Becker and Red come in that night to grab Petra. Maria and Amber try to fight, but are overpowered. Beto then shows up at the door asking about Amber, and Red tries to lie and say he's never met her. Beto sees Amber's coat and hears her scream, so he busts into the house to try and rescue her. But this plan isn't going to go well for him. Beto tries to get to Amber, but ends up getting beaten to death by Becker. We later see Amber being prepared by Red as Maria is taken away screaming.
Why are you doing this?
And Red explains that he and Becker have been sacrificing women to appease an Aztec goddess who's helping cure Becker in return. Becker eventually comes back and puts paint and blood on Amber's face before dragging her off to the basement. As she's carried away, Amber sees the ghosts of all of the women who have been sacrificed in the house, and it's revealed that they weren't a threat to her, but actually a warning about what was going to happen to her. In the basement, the decapitated body of Maria is dragged away, and Amber is chained to a stone table. Becker then chants above the stone box and opens the lid before going back upstairs.
Please stop!
In the box, we can see a long dark tunnel where some moths fly out of. The goddess plays tricks on Amber and makes her believe that Beto has arrived in the room to rescue her. But as she follows him, Amber finds herself in her mother's hospital room. She imagines her mother stroking her hair before eventually trying to strangle her. So Amber fights back and smothers her mother. As Amber dreams, the goddess climbs out of the box and is revealed to be a disgusting human moth monstrosity. The creature climbs over Amber and prepares to eat her head, but Amber suddenly jerks awake and causes the goddess to retreat back into the box. Amber opens the box and looks inside, but she only sees a child-sized skeleton. Amber is preparing to leave the house when she hears Petra's screams and sees an old Aztec sword, giving her the idea to give the men a taste of their own medicine. Becker senses that something is going wrong with Amber's sacrifice,
What is it?
and tells Red to go check on it while he deals with Petra. Red is attacked by Amber and goes down quickly. Becker fights back and throws her to the ground before breaking her ankle. Petra tries to help and shoves Becker before making a run for it, but he quickly grabs her and kills her by throwing her down the stairs. He then tries to choke Amber, but she's able to slit his throat with a piece of the sword and kill him by smashing his head in with the sword. Amber then brings Red to the sacrifice table and offers him up to the goddess to make him pay for doing this to countless women. The goddess crawls out of the box again and accepts the sacrifice by biting Red's head off. Amber hobbles towards the front door and sees Red's ghost in the house, eternally trapping him there with all of his victims. Just as she's about to leave, Amber's ankle magically heals itself, and she realizes that the goddess healed her because she sacrificed Red. Thick veins can be seen appearing on Amber's face that are similar to ones on the back of Becker's head. Amber's face turns to one of despair as she realizes that by sacrificing Red, she's bound herself to the goddess and must now continue to make sacrifices the way the brothers were. Click one of the videos on screen right now.